Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 11 starts now.
The road to the White House swings through Detroit. 10 candidates facing off tonight, 10 more to go, but all trying to separate themselves in a very crowded field.
Detroit was mentioned, and I'm delighted that Detroit is rebounding. But let us understand, Detroit was nearly destroyed because of awful trade policy, which allowed corporations to throw workers in this community out on the street as they move to low-wage countries.
Detroit brought up a number of times tonight, but it was really a debate largely dominated by the argument at the very outset, which was about differences on health care.
You're right. And in fact, the first 20 minutes dedicated to universal health care, which brought out the most fiery moments of the night for sure. We have team coverage tonight with both Nick Monticelli and Mara McDonald live inside the Fox Theater. We begin with Mara. And Mara, this was a debate where a lot of the candidates on stage tonight had to make their move.
They did have to make their move, Kimberly, and good evening, by the way, from the spin room, which is an absolute madhouse right now, and we're going to do our very best not to get crushed out here. Senator Sanders is on the floor right now. He and Senator Harris were the two top poll getters going into tonight's debate. Did they take all the air out of the room? No. Surprisingly enough, everybody up there got a shot. CNN did its best to try and give everybody an opportunity to speak, and at times, because of the format, almost felt like we were living through whiplash because candidates were being forced to try and answer these questions in a short, timely manner. Take a look. It was clear from the opening statements that Senators Warren and Sanders and their policies were not representative of everybody on the stage.
Now, I share their progressive values, but I'm a little more pragmatic.
While both Warren and Sanders have the higher poll numbers, tonight they didn't get all the attention.
I do know, and I wrote the damn bill.
Sanders and Warren reiterating their positions, Medicare for all or decriminalizing border crossings, while Bullock, Hickenlooper, Delaney, and Ryan staked out more moderate positions. For example, Delaney on Sanders' Medicare for all math.
If his math is wrong, it's been well documented that if all the bills were paid at Medicare rate, which is specifically, I think it's in Section 1200 of their bill, then many hospitals in this country would close.
Moderators hitting on Medicare for all, immigration, and gun violence, but also more Michigan and Midwest tailored topics.
Kimber from Birmingham, Michigan has this question. What is your plan to address infrastructure, including the water issue, so another Flint, Michigan does not happen again?
The question was originally volleyed to Klobuchar, but it was Marianne Williamson who grabbed it for the applause.
I lived in Grosse Pointe. What happened in Flint would not have happened in Grosse Pointe. This is part of the dark underbelly of American society.
Which led into questions about racism and reparations, which O'Rourke and Williamson enthusiastically embraced. It is a question not all candidates were asked or answered. Then it was tariffs and trade deals. For auto states, a big issue.
They have become a way for giant multinationals to change the regulatory environment so they can suck more profits out for themselves and to leave the American people behind.
Empty factories, empty houses, poverty. I know exactly what happens to a community when these closures take place, and there will be more. It's why we actually need to put the interests of workers first. Of course, we need to do retraining. We're doing it now in South Bend. We should continue to do it, but this is so much bigger than a trade fight. This is about a moment when the economy is changing before our eyes.
Back here live, I think if you were a fan of Senators Warren or Sanders, you got out of them exactly what you expected. I'll tell you who I didn't think we got the most out of that maybe you had expected tonight. I don't think we got much out of Klobuchar. I expected more out of Buttigieg. And I think Beto needed to do a whole lot more. I think that the polling coming out of this debate may put some of these candidates in a position where they're not going to be joining the debate stage in September. Onward to tomorrow night. We're live from the spin room right now. I'm Mara McDonald. Back to you.
All right, Mara, part of why tonight was so important because the rules do change as they move towards September. You got to show a little bit more support,
That's right,
both in money-wise and in polling if you want to continue in this field. Now, right now, every candidate has their team doing their full best there, as you saw behind Mara, trying to convince a room full of reporters that their candidate won the night.
We head back to the spin room where Nick Monticelli is live there tonight. Nick, what's been the post-debate reaction there, would you say?
So, Kimberly, unfortunately, we haven't talked to many of the candidates, in fact, any of them just yet, because the room is so crowded. Logistically, it is nearly impossible to get to some of them. We heard Bernie Sanders giving a couple of comments. We have not seen Senator Warren yet. We did see Governor Hickenlooper. There's just basically a logistics problem of getting to many people. But as of the bigger conversation, what you were talking about, what do people think so far? Not a whole lot. They were expecting many more fireworks, and a lot of people honestly expecting some kind of riff or at least some division between Senator Warren and Senator Sanders, something to separate the two of them as this Democratic field tries to narrow it down a little bit. That's what a lot of people, at least the editorial press here in the room, was trying to figure out is what's going to separate the two top runners in this field. So we're literally surrounded by reporters. This room is probably a little too small than it should be. Go in. All right, thank you very much. Another thing that we really wanted to talk to Marianne Williamson about was her comment about Grosse Pointe. She specifically brought that up, saying that she's from that area, and Grosse Pointe would not have happened in comparison to Flint. Now, we did hear from a lot of people about what they were expecting and what they were hoping to get out of this. And as of right now, Devin and Kimberly, they're saying this kind of fell short of helping them decide who their candidates would be.
Even after 2.5 hours,
That's right.
Still a lot of undecided minds out there, sure.
Yeah, and great job not getting trampled on and giving us that live report, Nick. We appreciate it. Let's bring in our Local 4 pollster, Richard Zuba. Richard, who do you think was the winner tonight, and what was the big moment, would you say?
Well, you know what? The one thing I noticed was there was this wide diversity of opinion within this debate. You didn't hear one monolithic Democratic Party tonight. You heard people from all areas of the spectrum. I think there were two people in particular who did very well tonight. One was Senator Warren. She was the clear leader of the liberal wing of the party. She was a very good debater. The other is Mayor Buttigieg from South Bend. Yeah. I think he did himself very well from the moderate wing of the party. He tried to bridge both wings of the party very effectively, I thought. And then a third person I think is going to get a second look because he was so interesting was Governor Bullock from Montana.
Yeah, he wasn't a part of the debate the first time around in Miami, so for a rookie, he had a couple of really good moments, I thought.
Yeah. He did, and it looks like, you have this wide breadth within the Democratic Party of different opinions. Yeah. We saw it certainly on health care.
I thought that was the most fascinating part of the night. That is a really critical matter for them trying to figure out what the differences are going to be.
Well, what was interesting in that debate was it looked very much like the polling we've seen, that the Democrats are not monolithic on where they go on health care.
Yeah.
All right, well, while the candidates were debating inside the Fox Theater, there were watch parties held all over the city here.
We talked with voters from all over town on their big takeaways from tonight. Here's some of what we heard.
So far, I feel like a lot of people are trying to sugarcoat and cater to what the people want to hear. And so I've been doing the research on candidates to see if what they're speaking about today, have they already been doing years prior.
So you're fact checking?
Yes.
I'm more like what Elizabeth Warren is saying, but I like that Bernie is staying in the fight and like being detailed and honest and calling people on it.
Especially as a millennial, it's good to be able to be in the midst and hear the conversation and hear the very things that are impacting not just the older people when they're talking about the Medicare for all, but even I'm waiting to hear about the education piece. I'm waiting to hear about how they're going to pay our student loans, how they're going to help us get rid of that, because that is a very big burden that we in this generation are having right now.
Well, before the debate started, a group of protesters marched down Woodward and blocked traffic there on Woodward near the I-75 overpass. Detroit police officers were able to peacefully get the group back on sidewalks. No arrests were made.
Kind of a flurry of activity as it's been all day here. We've also just received a response from the Republican National Committee, and it reads, in part, Democrat candidates put their out-of-touch priorities on full display. As workers and industries thrive under President Trump's winning economic policies here in Michigan and across the country, voters will choose 4 more years of this great American comeback rather than allow Democrats to take us backward. Yeah. Not exactly a surprising take from the other side.
All right, well, while Night 1 is is in the books. We still have another debate tomorrow night with 10 different candidates.
It's really going to be interesting how they try and switch it up a little bit
and change the questions.
And yet keep to the same topics that are so important. The field tomorrow night will include, of course, former Vice President Joe Biden, who is the leader in the polls right now. We'll also hear from Senators Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, among 7 others. We will look ahead to that debate just a little bit later on and kind of preview what we expect coming up tomorrow night. But for now, let's send it back to the studio. Karen Drew is standing by along with today's other top stories. Hey, Karen.
All right. Thank you very much, Devin and Kimberly. An accused killer now in custody. New tonight why more arrests may be coming in connection with the murder of a Berkeley High School graduate, Tyler Wingate. Ben.
Karen, will walk out to the door to 60-degree temperatures tomorrow. A much more comfortable feel and a cooler one, too. We'll see how long the rain stays at bay. Next.
A car hits a father just steps from his house, leaving him to die in the streets.
I don't know what to do. Like, I'm froze. It's not real to me.
What's scarier, there's a possibility this was no accident.
10,704 votes. Only 0.23% separated presidential candidates in 2016. In 2020, Michigan matters. Big. All eyes are on the Fox Theater in Detroit. 20 Democratic candidates. What will they say? And what do Metro Detroit voters want to hear?
Make sure that this person is authentic and speaks to the issues of the people.
Team coverage of the big debate moments. Devin, Kimberly, Mara, Paula, Jason, and Nick reporting live. Political moments that matter on Local 4 and Click on Detroit.